of being joined tonight by Ari Glaizel, a phenomenal thought leader in our space. We're going to be talking about product ownership, uh, impacts, career changes as well. And as you have any questions, anything that you would like, we will bring those up. Please feel free to shoot them in the comments. We'll bring them up as we go along. So I wanted to first welcome Ari and love for you to tell audience a little bit about yourself.
Hans, thank you so much, and it's a great to be here on your show. So, little about me, professionally, been in the industry for 23 years, I think. I got my start in 1997, coming out of school, working for Northern Telecom at the time, if anyone remembers that stalwart. But my career has been spent a lot of software development technology roles. 2008 made the shift to more product management. I preferred to make the moves on the chessboard as opposed to building the chessboard, and so really enjoyed that side of things for many years. And in the past few years, it's kind of evolved a little bit where where I've realized that what I enjoy, as much as I enjoy product management and that piece of it, it's enabling others to be successful. How do I show others the way and teach them those right things to do? And so my own career has shifted a little bit over the past few years. Personally, I live just north of Toronto, married with two wonderful kids, and overall very blessed.
Fantastic. And we're going to talk about product ownership and product management today. But for those who are joining us who don't really know what that is, how would you define it? And specifically, we're taking kind of a tech angle. We're both in IT and taking more of a tech focus. So it could apply to really any industry, any roles, but we're going to take more of an IT look at it today. So, Ari, how would you define product management and what a product owner does?
Yeah, so I look at product management as I look at it as a product lifecycle function, where really it's that one person that is the consistent thread from all the way from birth all the way through sunsetting of a given product. And that one point person is really accountable for all of the different activities to support the growth of that product, the selling of that product. While it's not the person, and the challenge in the role is it's not the person that maybe goes and writes the code, that writes up the marketing copy, that's the one that goes out and is pounding the pavement, making the sales necessarily, is playing a supporting, that supporting leadership role across all of those different areas, to ensuring the success and the growth of their product. Colloquially, the way I talk about product management is it's, their focus is everything before a given project starts and after the project ends. It's really about supporting all of those pieces around it. So for anybody that's used to, a project, that's used to a project-driven organization where everything is done within the confines of a project, product management has a role in there, of course. But really, where they're critical is everything supporting leading up to the project and everything that goes on afterwards.
So it's almost like a product owner is the CEO for their product or service and really has to take ownership of everything soup to nuts. Even if they aren't necessarily doing the work, they're working with teams to make sure that that product can be delivered and delivers the value they're looking for.
That's correct. And there's a couple things I want to comment on what you just said there. So first of all, it's the word value, and really it's about ensuring ensuring and supporting the delivery of value to stakeholders, to the organization, to customers, to users. And it's really about that delivery of value that really is what keeps product managers up at night, is making sure and ensuring that the products are delivering the required value. I want to touch on for a second on the CEO, the mini CEO designation that you just talked to there. I'm a little torn on it, and I understand where you're coming from with the definition. The definition there, people make a mistake that as the CEO, that means I just get to order and tell everyone what to do, and I can just start firing people left, right, and center. And that really is not the intention around the statement here. So every time because it is such a common thing in the literature, I mean, it's something I do bring up when I'm talking to members. But I do make it clear what that actually means, and to really almost sort of discourage you thinking it as a real CEO, but really looking at the accountability side of that role.
Right. So we're talking about it from a thought leadership standpoint, not product dictator, and I ignore everyone else and do whatever I want, like it's a sole proprietorship and I am my product god or demigod, and all things I say will be heard. Absolutely. I agree. And you're right that label, although it's maybe easy to understand, could carry the wrong connotation with it.
Exactly.
So thinking about this, a lot of people that hopefully are tuning in, their organizations are shifting to more of a product centric view. Groups that are moving to any of the Agile methodologies or Agile DevOps, they now on Scrum teams, there's an official product owner role. You can get certified. So kind of at a higher level, companies have existed for a long time. They seem to be successful. Why would they start taking more of this product orientation and this product shift? What's driving this change?
So there's a couple things that I see driving that kind of shift. So first of all, while things have behaved in a very specific way, and the companies have been a going concern long before what I would call the modern product and agile thinking have been around. I mean, people are noticing that users are becoming more demanding as to what they want. The business environments are changing faster and faster, and that way of doing things, that people are realizing that we're not able to keep up. And so there's a new way of thinking, or a new way of thinking about it is required. In all of that as well, a lot of the symptoms that I would hear from different people, and comes down to, really, I can't get the right things out to my customers, and I feel disconnected from what my teams are producing. So so in a lot of organizations, you have this person that's sitting fairly high up here that's trying to figure out, like, I don't know what my team is doing exactly. I'm telling them it needs to go out by this date, but I'm kind of stuck here, and I don't quite understand how to make that connection better. And with product thinking and agile thinking too, they go hand in hand, but they are different. And clinically speaking, you can have one without the other, though it's more difficult. What the important thing that product thinking, that traditional product, that good product thinking provides, is that that long-term view of what of delivery of value, where it's not just, I finished the project, thanks very much, I'm done, now I go on to the next thing. And a lot of those organizations, what you'll find, and I treat those kinds of products as uranium. The moment it's done, it starts to decay. No one's taking care of it. No one is thinking about the life cycle of it. And very, very often what you'll find is, we celebrated that completion of that project. It was great. We all went out for drinks, and then 6 months later, we're back to where we started again. And so what real product thinking is about, is making sure that you're looking at the long view for that given product.
Right. And so analogies are always a little suspect, but when we're in a project mode, it's kind of like when someone's first learning to drive in a stick shift and they keep slamming forward and back. So you make progress in the project and then you slam to a stop, and then you spin up another project and you slam to a stop. So what we're really trying to do is create a smoother product journey. We're looking at our product emerging and enhancing and improving over time, and then still using potentially projects to maybe fund those changes, but we're more focused on the value in product releases and scheduling releases over time to enhance and hopefully deliver more value, or that value at a higher return on investment.
Yeah, exactly. And really what you're looking at there, it's delivering the right value at the right time to the right person. Right. People think that product thinking, and I'm going to use product and agile interchangeably for the purposes of this. People think that it's all about doing things faster, It has
Yep.
nothing to, that's fine. That may be a tertiary benefit or a quaternary benefit of it, of everything you're doing, but it's about making sure the right people are getting the right things. And in addition, as a leader and as a manager, if you're running an organization or you're running a large department, what is the thing that you value most? Consistency and being deterministic. I want to
Right.
know that if you tell me that something's going to go out and something's going to happen, that people feel accountable to make that happen, and it does happen. That there's a consistency there, not that you get told on Thursday before the Friday due date that, oh yeah, by the way, we're going to be 3 months late. I mean, that's just not acceptable. Or the day you release, you realize, well, we missed half the requirements that we were supposed to hit here, and now there's a big statutory change that we have to suddenly do.
Right. So you've spent time as a product owner, product manager. How did this happen? Because, I think when we were coming up, maybe we heard about it on consumer products or physical products, but it really wasn't as much of a thing in IT. How did that opportunity pop up, and how was that experience for you?
So the maybe help me with the question a little bit. You're asking about my experience dealing with digital products.
So how did you become a product owner,
Oh,
and what
okay.
led you, and in your career, like what led up to that, and then what
Mm,
was your experience as a product owner? Because a lot of us, if we've worked in IT teams, we're familiar with developers and testers and project managers, and some of the groups are experiencing some flavor of product ownership in
hmm
Scrum, but maybe not as we would advocate for it. So how did you make the transition into that role? Let's start there. How did you make the transition to the
Sure.
role? And then maybe we can turn that into some advice for people who are trying to make that career shift.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for clarifying the question. So the big thing, uh, so when I made the transition, I was making a transition from software development, and so I was a part of a founding group for a software company back in the early aughts, and so we ran with that for a while. Was doing some really great work. We're getting some great advances, great sales, and it was really fantastic. But I was starting by about 2007. I was starting to get a little bored with the work. Where I mean, it was fine to build. It was fine to go build and really do these new unique things. But I was very curious about, okay, well, how was the stuff being used? Right. And at the time, that wasn't so well connected. How's the stuff being used? Why do people care about this? I actually disagree with the decisions being made. Why are they making the decisions this way? And so what I realized is that what I really enjoyed is, what? I want to help make some of those decisions. Right. I want to be able to go out, make the case, and then help drive. And again, not order the direction, help drive the direction, of these products. And so the opportunity had come up, and my leadership and management at the time was excellent, and they gave me the opportunity to be able to make that jump. And it was fantastic. I had built a lot of a good reputation already on knowing the product extremely well from a technical point of view, so making the leap was easier for me. I give on the side, and I forgot to mention my introduction. I do, regularly, teach a product management course for a skills a technical skills school downtown Toronto, and located elsewhere, called Brain Station. And I get asked that question a lot. Is that I'm trying to move into product management. Ari, what should I do? The saying that you should be doing the job 6 months before you have the job is actually is part of that in that case. And what you would need to do there is really work to build up your name with the product management team. Be a sort of a supporting person there. If they are, give them feedback on the requirements, give them feedback on what they're talking about, give them feedback on the vision. Be there and be a help to them to make it easier for you to be able to make that shift. The challenge that a lot of people have is they think that, well, I'm just going to go apply to a company as a junior product manager and boom, I'll go get the job. And that's just not how it works. It's just, if I'm sitting there with resumes in front of me here and I see somebody with zero experience, they're saying, I think I'll be good at this, and I see somebody with a year, I will guaranteed Unless there's something really unusual, an anomaly in their resume, I will pick the person that has at least a little bit of experience, so it's not such a heavy lift there. And so, it's about building up the reputation with the product management team as somebody that thinks beyond just the individual thing in front of me. Do I have the ability to think longer term? Do I have ability to think about the plan B? Am I able to play 3D chess with with some of the decisions that I make? And that's when I interview, that's what I look for as well. Right? In the past, when I've had to interview product managers, I don't care if they know how to write a user story. I actually straight up do not care. If it comes up in the interview, great. But I'm more looking at some of the key capabilities around a product manager. Do they have the right? Can they think? Can they think in multiple directions? Can they communicate well? How do they have a background where they've made other decisions and have been able to sell those decisions? So there isn't sort of a clear path that if I take this product management course, I will become an instant product manager because I have the Bachelor of Product Management, in my title. It just doesn't necessarily work like that.
Well, you mentioned that, and this is true for a lot of roles, but especially in product management, that demonstrating and building those skills that you're going to be using and basically acting or building them out prior to applying for a role is key. So what are some of those skills? What are some of those routines that you did as a product owner that maybe people could start focusing more on leading up to getting a position?
So a few things. So first of all, communication is so important. Being able to express your ideas. I'm not saying you need to get up in front of a room of 1,000 people at a trade show and talk to them, but being able to express your ideas and be able to negotiate with others on getting your ideas heard and understood. And even if I had a couple cases where, I was kind of arguing with someone in a room and, I was interviewing with, and you know what? They didn't win the argument, but I still love them to pieces because why? Because they were able to articulate a case and make a case with me. And so, that's the kind of thing I look for. So that's something that you can practice regardless of what role you're in. Second is being able to really, going back to sort of the 3D chess analogy, being able, and regardless of the role that you're in, showing that you're thinking about the impact of your job. The one thing that I hate the most, and again, I'm going to be fairly open on what I despise here, is when people for a product manager, I should say, if you have this in other jobs, I don't care, that's fine, I just give me a stack of papers, Ari, and I'll just work on them one by one. All right. And I just want to blindly do that. There are plenty of roles where that's fine and good for you and Godspeed, raise your family and all that good stuff. But really, it's about me being able to look at, okay, what am I doing here? Why am I doing that? I see the next 4 things on my list here. Maybe I shouldn't be doing any of this, and I should be doing this other thing aside from that, and really sort of showing that longer term thinking and thinking about the impacts of what you're doing and why. Another thing that's really important, and this is well, it kind of divides them into 2 things. One is you got to be insanely curious. All right. It got to a point for me where, I was no longer having fun when I was going out because I was looking at at the branding of things. I remember taking a Disney cruise in 2012, I think, with my family. And all I was looking at was sort of how the product and how the services were being put forward. I was looking at the logo and where exactly they were placing the Mickey Mouse and how they were actually, who was sort of representing the brand. How were they handing you with bags with things in it? And again, this is, having that curiosity and that passion becomes, is critically important. And being able to talk about that and being able to just bring that up in a conversation, is really important because you need to be very observant about the world around you. The last thing I'll say is, what's really important is read everything. Right? Read articles, everything that comes out. Doesn't mean everything you read is correct, but you're not going to know that until you read a number of different perspectives. And so read a lot of different articles. Feel free to talk about those different articles. To me, I have the posts that I value, the things that I value on social media are when people are opening up real discussions. Right. I have great respect when I see somebody that post about, look, I just read this article and I think it's wrong for the following reasons. Like don't tell me and don't show me your ticket to Cuba or whatever, or your the fact that you're going to this fancy conference. Talk to me about what, show me about what you're what you're reading about, what you're passionate about, what you disagree about, and don't be afraid to be wrong in front of people.
Excellent. Well, you mentioned about, when you're on the cruise and seeing how things fit together and having that ability to understand the processes, understand how all these moving pieces fit, where they're delivering value, where there's room for improvement. Is this why a lot of business analysts seem to be attracted and actually very good in a product management role?
I would agree with that. And this is where, in terms of any role that has the easiest time to make that transition, it definitely is the business analysis role, because of the level of thinking and the complex thinking that they really, that they have to do. I mean, really good business analysts are really expensive for a very good reason, because they are that good, and they are that good at really being able to take a complex mess of a business and being able to really kind of, turn it into something that's digestible and understandable. And that is an important part of a lot of the thinking that I would expect good product managers or product owners, whichever term you want to use, would have.
Okay, let's continue your career journey a little bit. So you
Mm.
started off in development, got
Hmm.
bored,
Hmm.
moved into product management, and really took great ownership and were able to plan and pull everything together.
Hmm.
And then at some point, you switched kind of to the other side, where now you're in a research and advisory role.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that, and what caused you to move over to that role and now be on the other side helping people move into the roles similar to the ones you've had in your past?
Yeah, and so that's an interesting one, because it wasn't something that, like, I said, you know what, I want to make this move. It wasn't like as deliberate, I would say, or at least consciously deliberate, as the move to product management was. The shift was a little bit, it was very slow. And I would say by about even 2015, 2016, I mean, I was taking on certain, product roles where, there was challenges on the team, good people, and figuring out, well, how do I help right side this? Working with the great people on the team to help right side what we have here, to help drive, great product innovation, and drive, really help sort of build up the brand of product in these in these given companies. And so what I found was, while I was still loving all the different product management things that we're talking about here, there was something that was creeping up that I was loving more. And that was really sort of enabling my team to do that
Yeah.
work. So kind of doing that training, doing the enablement, saying like, look, well, okay, you have this situation. Here are the things that you can do to maybe, unravel this, or here's how you should be talking to this customer, or how you should be talking to this client, or whoever the case may be. And I was enjoying, and it kind of snuck on me, and realizing that I was kind of enjoying that more than the regular work, and not to saying that I didn't like it. It's just realized that over time, what, I'm kind of liking this more. And then in, was it 2018 or so, I had the opportunity to, to teach product management at product management course at BrainStation. And, that's, yeah, but April. So it's been nearly 3 years. And that in particular, I realized that, how much I love that. And it made me realize that, what, there's something to be said here. So I did a lot of really just sort of soul searching about what I want to do and how I want to do it. And then that kind of led one thing to another, and then eventually applied to InfoTech, and, being conscious as to what I'm getting into there, and, getting the job, and, really taken to it, not without its transition. And that's there's some good story there, but really, that's the kind of the high level journey.
Fantastic. And I think probably my path to Infotech, because we work on the same team, and that's how we met, and why I
Hmm.
brought you on, because I love your depth of knowledge, especially in this area. For me, I love fish. I enjoy fishing, but I love teaching people how to fish. And
Hmm.
for me, throughout the career, it was always about, well, I could do this, but then I'm the only person who could do this. if I can teach other people and help other people learn how to do it, then they're going to be able to do it and they're going to teach other people. And you get this tremendous economy of scale. So moving along for me, it was a little bit different because I finally I started reaching out to find those opportunities more like you did. You were working as an instructor. I was speaking at conferences and doing webinars and talking to whoever would listen to me, and then eventually setting up a site and a channel to share this before joining, the HAPS family to broadcast through this platform and expand it. So I thought it was really a great opportunity to help the people who really need it at that point. Like, think about where our careers might have been if we had access to these experts, this research, this support that InfoTech provides. And that's what I think about when I'm talking to our members. If I had this 10 years ago, 20 years ago, throughout my career, where might my career be now? Like, what could I have accomplished if I had this guidance and I didn't have to make all those mistakes myself?
Yeah, and speaking of mistakes, I completely agree with you there. I mean, there is what I will say is that, yeah, I'm very, envious. Like, things are hard for other reasons for people today, and so I'm not pretending that it's all, sunshine and roses. But definitely the, kind of having to. There was really nobody to talk to about this stuff, in the same way that there is now. Whether you're taking a course with BrainStation, you're using advisory services from InfoTech, or you're at the various technical schools out there. It's all that. It's just so different today. I want to touch on a little bit here because, again, the whole advisory and teaching and all that kind of stuff is not for everybody, and there is sort of I kind of was thinking about that. I'm very grateful that it's worked out well for me, and that seems to be something that's going well for me. But I kind of took a step back and think, like, okay, well, what's made it go well? Right? It's there are things that God has granted me skills for, and there are other things that God has not granted me skills for. And so, to be honest with myself, that why am I in this position, and why have I seen some success here? And it comes down to really making a lot of mistakes, admitting you've made a lot of mistakes, and being willing to share with others, kind of the path, and the stories and the path on how to not make those mistakes. And I would say that for me, that's probably the biggest thing. And so a lot of the work that I do, and pretty much every story that I tell, is probably rooted into something that I screwed up somewhere along the line. Right? I mean, we all. This is the time of social media where everyone wants to show off how smart they are and that they're all like super perfect. But I mean, that's just not the case. I mean, if you are Hans, I mean, God bless you, and I mean, that's great. But I mean, in my case as well, look, I made a lot of mistakes in my career. Right. And then I said, if I knew that, I would have done it completely differently. Well, I can help the next generation of product managers. I can help the people calling for advisory services and, calling to InfoTech, and help through that.
And they can discover a whole new universe of mistakes that they can make on their own and be the first to make those mistakes.
Exactly.
Well, we were talking a little bit about what makes a product owner. And one of the things I want to harken back to is, you mentioned that a good product owner isn't, a dictator of their product. They're not the ones who are making the decisions in a vacuum, telling people what to do, unwilling to collaborate. And really, what we've seen, I think, is the best product owners are the ones that are very good at communication, collaboration, and decision making. Not just making a decision, but empowering the teams that they work with to help guide those decisions or even make those decisions. So let's talk a little bit about if we could mold our perfect product owner, what is most important? We can set domain knowledge aside because anyone can learn a domain.
Yes.
Well, almost anyone. And if you can't, you're never going to be a product owner. But what are those things that we think if you wanted to be the absolute best product owner, where would you focus your attention, and where would you advise people to really build up their skill set?
So you need to. It's a few things, and So I'm going to go somewhere where I don't think probably you expected. And one thing that I look for, I think is so critical is humility, and which is a bit of a different tact than I think of the way the literature tends to be written. And with humility, the reason I say that is, you can't underestimate your own ability to make a mistake. You don't assume that you are just the be all and end all of all knowledge on this. And so
Right.
when you encounter a new data point, when you see something new, it's not just that, well, I mean, I know that's not the case because I've done this for 10 years and I'm so smart and special. It's about being able to say, okay, let's look at the data. Let's take a look at, for example, what our goals are for the product. Let's look at our vision and see how are we getting closer or further away from that. So that's number one for me. Number two, it is about being able to uh, drive change without necessarily having people report to you. It's easy to order somebody to do something. When I think of most important here is it's easy enough to order someone to do something if they're working for you, right? Do what I want you to do or you're fired. I mean, that's the easy thing to do. The harder thing is, being a relatively junior product manager, maybe you've been there for about a year there for about a year or two, and you're trying, you want to bring along a whole company with you down on a journey, and being able to do that not through authority, not by the end of a gun, but by through your words, your communication, and your ability to build relationships. And so when I think about the most important
Yep.
things for me, and again, those are very soft skill things, those for me are the most critical skills to build up, regardless of what job you currently have.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and so absolutely agree with those thoughts, and I think that ability to work well, that ability to, like you said, to be humble and to be open, not just hearing, but actually listening. And we often say the people that are closest to the problem are probably in the best position to solve it. And as a product owner, we owe it to those people to listen to them and take that in and then help guide, because we all have different views, we all have different information. And it's only through working together that we can piece those together and make a better decision.
Absolutely. Amen.
And for me, one of the keys, it's kind of a theme that seems to go through my career, that I think I'm suffering from affliction, and then I find out it's actually a job title or become something. I discovered years after I had been doing a certain type of work that it was actually called business analysis, and that not only was there a name, but there was actually organizations and other people who were suffering from the same thing I was doing. And one of the other ones that I think might be a great place to close out tonight on is servant leadership. And for me, this was really weird as it came to be, but I when I was starting to move into, and I'd say thought leadership, not management roles, one of the things I discovered was a lot of the leaders I didn't respect, a lot of the managers, the micromanagers, it wasn't just that they were telling me what to do, but they were telling me how to do it. They wanted me to work the way they worked because they thought that was best. And fortunately, I discovered, I was like, well, wait a minute. People are really different. And if you can play to your strengths, you're going to do better. We're going to do better as a team. And then later discovered that really that's one of the foundations of servant leadership, is helping bring out the best of people, clearing obstacles. So, can you talk a little bit about your leadership journey and how you've seen your perspective of strong leadership uh, change over the years?
Absolutely. And so as a concept, servant leadership completely aligned with that as being, a great way to work that gets the best out of people. So full stop there. In terms of the journey to get there, I mean, for me, look, it was was an evolution for me to say that back in 2008 and and earlier that, yeah, I thought that was a great thing to do and I knew that all along. No, I mean, that was something that I had to learn. But what I would say is my journey there has been through realizing that empowering people and that deferring to others, uh, actually produced better results. And I learned that on the ground, as opposed to me sort of pushing and saying, you just need to go do, you just need to go do this. And as a product manager, especially, given you're forced to learn that lesson pretty quickly, because you don't have people reporting to you, right? You have to find a way of getting the best out of people without ordering them. That didn't stop me in my earlier days, to be honest with you, where I was kind of, I was a bit more brash, I would say, early on than I am now in terms of how I dealt with things. But very quickly I realized that just didn't work. And so for myself, I mean, I fell into that out of necessity, because that really was the way that I saw that I was getting the best outcomes from people. Now, in terms of management, I mean, I've worked for both kinds. And there's a very big difference. And where you see the big difference is the quality of people, that are just under that leader. And so if I focus, for example, on a CEO, for example, I mean, I can tell based on, are the people just underneath that CEO, you know, are they having good fights in his or her office? Like, are they kind of having that good tussle back and forth? Right. So that to me is showing actually strength as a leader, because you're willing to sort of let the smart people be smart. I want to point to one interesting thing here. And again, people might disagree, but when I look at someone like Steve Jobs, and if you read the Walter Isaacson biography, people think like, people have said, yeah, like he's a tough person, he's been cruel, and all of those, it's all been written in his book. And so I'm not going to argue yes or no to any of that. But I would say that he really exemplified hiring smart people and letting smart people push back on him, and letting smart people do the smart right things. We have an app store not because of Steve Jobs, but because his people convinced him it was the right thing to do. We have these, a lot of the great advancements from Apple, I mean, was really because Steve Jobs was willing to defer to smart people and do his work, see his vision through, not by him going to writing the code and doing whatever, and building the iPhones himself, but by letting smart people do that on his behalf.
Right. And there was an article that I popped up in my feed earlier today, and I shared on LinkedIn. And also, for anyone who wants to follow Ari, please connect with either of us on LinkedIn. You can find us by our name, and I provided a link in the comments to his profile. And it was talking about how more organizations are switching to Agile leadership, and that Agile was driving a different way of working, a different way of teamworks. And true, the principles of Agile can work in any area, and that's good. But the more I was reading the article, they were really talking about just being a better manager, being a servant leader, empowering your teams and finding what they need to be successful, and thinking about what can I do to support them so that they're successful. And so I kept almost, being a little angry at the article, because it's not Agile that's doing this. But if Agile's the way it takes to get better leadership, better management, fine. I'm glad you found it through one path. What are your thoughts on that?
So I'm with you here. You can call it a pickle for all I care. It's as long as you get the right outcomes, I'm perfectly fine with that. And so I look at that as well. And a lot of the stuff that Agile talks about there, if we just strip it down and just talk about the Agile itself, I mean, it's all based on sound common sense rules around how to solve problems, how to partition them, how to treat your team. I mean, a lot of those, it really codifies a lot of those, really sort of common sense principles that even Dr. Royce, who was deemed to be the father of waterfall, which, by the way, he never uttered the word waterfall in his original paper. The one thing that, he even said, and he started espousing in that same paper that everyone ignored, a lot of what we consider to be modern agile thinking. And so the long and short of it is, I completely, if you want to call it agile management, reframing the workplace, that's perfectly fine. It's the right thing to do, regardless of what you call it.
Absolutely. It's kind of like watching Ant-Man or Ant-Man and the Wasp. You just slap quantum in front of it, and then whatever you have works. So if you have to slap Agile in front of it to make it work or it happen in your organization, go for it. Well, I really appreciate your time and coming today. I apologize to everyone who missed the live broadcast, especially with had some technical difficulties. But the good news is learned from the mistake, and I found out how to fix a problem I was having. So next time I won't have it. Anyway, closing thoughts. So we've been on a little bit of a journey, and especially around product management. Closing thoughts, advice for anyone who might be interested in product management, getting started. Closing thoughts and advice to them.
I would say that, really in terms of where to get started is, start reading, pick up a book, pick up an article, be curious. I mean, at its most basic levels, it's about that, and it's about an attitude of willingness to learn. Follow along when you see, for example, products get released, in the marketplace. Follow along that journey. Next time you walk into a major chain, look at how things are laid out. Why are things put where they are? Why does McDonald's, why do they hand you the bag with the logo up front? Always they do that. Go watch the next time you go to McDonald's, right? I mean, all of these things are being done for a reason. It's to it's to push the brand. It's to satisfy a need, and start thinking and being curious in those, in those particular ways. And also, ignore the people that do the gatekeeping in the industry. There are some people that love to say that, I'm just really smart at this, and I don't think you're good enough. Don't listen to that. Don't listen to that. If it's something that you want to do, you will be able to do it. And something, an offer that I've given to many people is that if you want me to review a resume, review a piece of work you've done, anything, or just a communication, or want to talk to me just about product, I mean, I'm happy to make the time, and reach out to me on LinkedIn, please, and we can start a discussion.
Fantastic. And great point. And when you find those articles, when you find those sources that you like, find out where they're broadcasting. Follow them, especially on LinkedIn, because LinkedIn is really, it's designed as a professional channel. So I know Ari and I, for example, we are always sharing articles we find that are related to our industry, our topics, things we're talking about. So it's as easy as following us, and you get access to basically filtered articles, or ones like I probably read 5 to 10 articles for every one that I share, because they're just not up to the quality that I would want to share with people or waste their time. So following people, and then reaching out and asking them. There's a lot of people. Ari just mentioned it. I'm the same way. We're willing to help, but you have to ask. You have to make that step. We can't. We're we're product managers. We're advisors. We're not psychics. We don't know when you need help, and we don't know how to call you until you let us know.
Exactly.
Well, Ari, I really want to thank you for joining tonight. For everyone who is watching one of the recording of the videos, again, my apologies if you were trying to get the live feed and that didn't work. I think I will be able to prevent that from happening again. But please, join the HAPS community. It's absolutely free. There's a wealth of content available. You can also interact with any of the live shows that are going on. So please feel free to subscribe to Ari and I. If you prefer following on one of our other channels, follow us there. Let us know what you want to see, what you want to hear about in future broadcasts. I know we'll probably talk about Agile, the good and the bad, or anything you want about that, because Agile's always a hot topic, and there's a lot of groups that are not doing it very well. So we'll probably bring that up. So let us know. Closing thoughts, Ari?
No, I think you said it really well, and really appreciate everyone joining here, and would love to talk to any of you more about product.
Fantastic. Thanks again. Thanks to everyone for joining, and we look forward to you at another broadcast. We're going to try and run this show every Tuesday and Thursday, right around 5:15 Eastern Time. Hope to see you there. Thank you.